Hey all, welcome to ShareTech. Today is 24th of December 2021 and my calendar is wide open and I'm free, so I thought let us take a deep dive into BEAM Therapeutics. I've been working on this video for a while. I thought I'll put it all together and get it out and upload it on YouTube, and I'm planning more of these videos for each of the companies that we cover. So today's video is going to talk about BEAM Therapeutics, its background, what are the products and technologies it is pioneering, what is the state of play in terms of the development, authorization, and monetization. I'm also going to be looking into the financials overall. We'll also look at the technicals, and I'll provide my feedback on what my thoughts are around this company and how it would perform in 2022 and the place it would have in my portfolio. So having said that, let us get started with our overview. BEAM Therapeutics was incorporated in 2017 and is headquartered in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and they develop genetic medicine. The candidates they have in play are BEAM 101 and 102. Both are treating sickle cell disease, but the approach is slightly different. In 101, they do a single base change, and in 102, they do a correction and create a variant which mimics the action of the hemoglobin. So that's slightly different, and since I'm not a scientist, I'm giving a high-level overview. For those who are more interested, all this information is available on the investors section. I'll be showing a page before I finish this video. BEAM 201 is a product which is going to look at antigen receptor T cell for the treatment of lymphoblastic leukemia, therapies for alpha-1 deficiency and glycogen storage disorder, and therapies for ocular and central nervous system disorders. These are the areas which BEAM is targeting, and they have made good progress in 101 and 102, and they have got some strategic tie-ups about which I'll be talking shortly. The first strategic tie-up is with Boston Children's Hospital. So when it comes to Boston Children's Hospital, the strategic tie-up they have with Boston Children's Hospital is to facilitate the development of disease-specific therapies using BEAM's base editing technology. Under the terms of the agreement, BEAM will sponsor multiple research programs at Boston Children's Hospital to advance translation of BEAM's pipeline across certain therapeutic areas of interest, including programs in sickle cell disease and pediatric leukemias, and exploration of new disease areas. Boston Children's Hospital will also serve as a clinical site in the future to advance bench-to-bedside translation of BEAM's pipeline. So in the previous slide, we saw all the areas in which BEAM is working, and the tie-up with Boston Children's Hospital is going to help them to translate all their research and cutting-edge technology into deploying it on the field. So that is my understanding. The other collaboration they have got is with Magenta Therapeutics. This is a research and clinical collaboration agreement, and this is necessitated because for any of BEAM's therapy, there is a conditioning that is a critical component necessary to prepare a patient's body to receive the ex vivo edited cells that must engraft in the patient's bone marrow in order to be effective. Right now, there is nothing else other than chemotherapy, and chemo has its own toxicity and other adverse reactions. So today's conditioning regimens rely on non-specific chemotherapy or radiation, which are associated with significant toxicities. Therefore, BEAM's collaboration with Magenta Therapeutics is to evaluate the potential utility of MGTA-117, Magenta's novel antibody drug conjugate that is designed to precisely target only hematopoietic stem and progenitor cells, sparing the immune cells. So now, I do not understand some of these terms here, like hematopoietic stem and progenitor stem cells, but basically my understanding is that Magenta has a method by which, in a non-toxic way, they are able to suppress the immune system in order to accept BEAM's therapy. Importantly, improved conditioning regimens would potentially be paired with BEAM 101 and BEAM 102, as well as other base editing programs in hematology. That is the background of, that is the objective of the collaboration BEAM has got with Magenta. The other collaboration they have is with the Institute of Molecular and Clinical Ophthalmology at Basel. The research collaboration established with Institute of Molecular and Clinical Ophthalmology in Basel, which is called IOB, to develop gene editing programs for ocular disease. Through this collaboration, IOB will leverage insights from ProgStar, an international collaboration studying the natural history study of Stargardt disease progression, and help to determine clinical outcome measures that could be used in clinical trials of future therapies. Additionally, IOB has developed technology that images the retina and choroid with better quality and dimension, as well as living models of the retina, which can be used to study the therapeutic impact base editing could have on ocular disease. So again, this is an area in which BEAM is leading. No other company, to the best of my knowledge, is working on the ocular area with base editing. So this is the other collaboration that they have. And they also have collaboration with Apellis Pharmaceutical to apply base editing technology for discovering new treatments for complement-driven diseases. They also have a lease agreement for BEAM's in-house manufacturing facility to support future product development in North Carolina. It was signed in late 2020 to become operational in 2023. So that is a little bit of background to this. BEAM entered into the lease agreement with Alexander Real Estate Equities Inc. to build a 100,000 square feet current good manufacturing practice compliant manufacturing facility in Research Triangle Park, North Carolina, that will support a broad range of clinical programs. BEAM will invest up to $83 million over a 5-year period and anticipate that the facility will be operational by the first quarter of 2023. The project will be facilitated in part by a Joint Development Investment Grant, JDIG, approved by the North Carolina Economic Investment Committee, which authorizes potential reimbursements to BEAM based on new tax revenues generated through the project. The facility will be designed to support manufacturing for the company's ex vivo cell therapy programs in hematology and oncology, and in vivo non-viral delivery programs for liver diseases, with flexibility to support manufacturing of its viral delivery programs and ultimately scale up to support potential commercial supply. So they are setting up their facilities for production and the future. So this is again a positive move. So in terms of financials, I took a snapshot of their financials. Their enterprise value is $4.23 billion. The market cap, of course, it keeps on changing from day to day depending on where the share price is. Their price to sales is 5.79K. I personally believe that financials for these kind of nascent companies is meaningless, because the market is going to get a feel of how good the company is doing based on other factors, because we don't have revenues, we don't have anything in terms of financials to look at their performance except the fact whether they have money in their balance sheet. So when it comes to having money in the balance sheet, they do have sufficient cash to do their R&D and continue for the next couple of years, because their R&D cost at present is very, very minimal. So they are being very optimal in their R&D expenditure. In terms of management, we have John Evans, who is the CEO and director, and he has been with the company for quite a while, and he has got a good background. He joined BEAM in 2017 as CEO and brings significant experience as a company builder, deal maker, and drug developer in biotechnology industry. And before coming to BEAM, he was at Agios Pharmaceuticals, again as VP Corporate Development. And he has also worked with McKinsey and Company in the pharmaceutical section, pharmaceutical practice. And the other officer we have is Giuseppe Chiarmella, and he's the President and Chief Scientific Officer. And he's been with the company, and he's been a veteran of more than 20 years in the drug discovery, and having worked with Moderna, AstraZeneca, Boehringer, Pfizer, and Merck. So he's been working with Pfizer for almost 14 years in UK, where he held several discovery leadership positions, including head of biotherapeutics, head of antivirals, and head of lead discovery. So what we have is a really heavyweight president and chief scientific officer, And that's a very comforting factor for us investors to know that we have someone who is so steeped with experience, and he's bringing all that expertise to progress the agenda for BEAM. And in terms of portfolio of technologies, I have taken this snapshot from their website. So they have the gene correction therapy, the gene modification therapy, gene activation, gene silencing, and multiplex editing. So these are the various technologies that they are working on. And in terms of the pipeline, this again is a graphic I have taken from their website. You will notice that BEAM 101 and 102 are in advanced stages of IND enabling. So when it comes to IND enabling, what it means is that IND stands for Investigational New Drug. It's a FDA program. IND enabling studies are conducted to evaluate potential toxicity risks prior to human studies and to estimate starting doses for clinical trials. Once these are completed successfully, the FDA takes around 30 days to review the IND application and provide approval. The IND application will have all the information regarding what was the protocol used, what was the dosage used, what was the subject, whether it was a mice or a monkey or whatever, and it will give all the results. And once FDA receives it, they will take 30 days to review, and they would look at the proposal that's being made by BEAM in terms of how they propose to study and with whom they are going to partner, and then the FDA will give an approval. Once an IND application is in effect, a drug manufacturer may ship the investigational new drug to the investigators named in the application. The stage, if successful, is followed by the new drug application. The documentation required for an NDA, that is new drug administration, is supposed to tell the drug's whole story, including what happened during the clinical tests, what the ingredients of the drugs are, and the results of animal studies, how the drug behaves in the body, and how it is manufactured, processed, and packaged. So with regard to BEAM 101, the US Food and Drug Administration has already cleared BEAM Therapeutics to start clinical testing of BEAM 101, the company's investigational gene editing cell therapy for sickle cell disease. That is, BEAM 101 has the potential to offer a one-time treatment for patients with sickle cell disease, and this clearance enables the important transition from preclinical to clinical stage. So that is my understanding of what happens with regard to IND. So as you can see here, BEAM 101, 102 both are in IND. I think BEAM 101 is already progressed far into phase 1 by 2, whereas BEAM 102 is just waiting in the wings. BEAM 201 is in the early stages, and it is for CAR-T. And I had shown you a graphic about CAR-T in my earlier video. I had taken it from the Novartis website, where they modified a T cell and they gave it chimeric receptors which can track cancer cells and kill them. So this is the CAR-T that we are talking about here. T cell lymphoma, again CAR-T approach. Then we have in vivo LNP for liver, and then we have the last one, which is the Stargardt disease for eye, for which they have the collaboration with IOB. So this is the whole pipeline, and I'm very optimistic that maybe in 2022 we are going to get some really good news on BEAM 101, and that itself will be sufficient to propel this share further, and BEAM 102 will follow suit probably in 2023. So the top institutional holders of shares in BEAM are ARK Investment, which has got around 10.04%. Vanguard Group, FMR LLC, there's a whole range of big names out there. So we are in good company as investors when we look at these people who have put a lot of money into this company. In terms of current market expectations, the analysts, 70% of the analysts are saying buy, 30% are saying hold overall, if I look at across all the sites. 12-month price target ranges somewhere between $115 to $120, and the current price is around $85. So we are looking at a potential upside of 35% when things get better. And part of this 35% is going to come when the markets turn around and the Nasdaq starts moving upwards, potentially in 2022. And the other part is going to come from the success of BEAM 101, which is what will give the rocket fuel to go further ahead. In terms of my thoughts about this company, I think BEAM Therapeutics has fallen 39% off its 52-week high, despite having a hugely powerful intellectual property niche in the CRISPR world. And don't forget, they are the only ones, in my opinion. Correct me if I'm wrong, if somebody thinks somebody else is working, some other company else is working on ocular remedies, please put it in the comments so that I can update my knowledge of this field. But at this point of time, I think only BEAM is looking at ocular solutions. So They have a advantage above the others, and if they succeed there, it's going to make BEAM one of a kind in terms of an investment instrument. This discount justifies investing in BEAM as it has many positive catalysts coming in FY22. While the standard CRISPR-Cas9 approach cuts double standard DNA and to insert genetic sequences, base editing erases a point mutation and replaces the new letter. So instead of doing a batch, they are capable of doing even individual edit. BEAM describes its base editing technology for correcting genetic illness as the most precise in today's genetic medicine toolkit, because they can not only replace a letter, the very fact that they are replacing a letter helps them to deactivate genes, that enables them to activate genes and correct genes. The FDA nod to lead base editing candidate BEAM 101 to address sickle cell disease is a step in the right direction, and if they are able to leverage on the collaboration with Magenta, then their treatment will be even more effective, because instead of depending on radiation and chemotherapy, they'll depend on a non-toxic Magenta approach, which can give greater success for BEAM 101, 102, and the other products they have in pipeline. They have sufficient cash in hand for research and development, so the fears of share dilution is not imminent, but it may surface later on when they start commissioning the new plant, but we'll cross the bridge when we come to it. I came across a very interesting quote on the website from Giuseppe Carmela. He says, importantly, we also expect to nominate our first development candidates for in vivo base editing in the liver using LNP delivery for the treatment of patients with glycogen storage disease by the end of the year. So it seems the lipid nanoparticles, LNP, are the next frontier in delivering CRISPR payloads to the cells, and is at the cutting edge of delivery methods. There was no evidence of off-target mutation, nor evidence of toxicity in the liver in initial studies. And this has to sustain in order for this particular technology to be successful. And when it does, that's going to give a very, very big advantage to BEAM over the others, because one of the main challenges today has been delivery methodology, because off-target mutation and off-target edits have been causing a lot of issues in many of the studies that we have seen so far. Let's look at the technicals. Now let's look at BEAM from a technical analysis point of view. I've zoomed off to a 1-year chart, and you can see that we have been at a peak of around 137.90 as far back as July 21. Since then, many CRISPR shares had suffered a big setback, and they had all gone down. It's not just BEAM Therapeutics, but if you look at the chart of any of the CRISPR companies that we are reviewing, they all show this formation. And this red line out here is a big resistance. We have been tapering under it for the longest period of time, right from June. And this red line has been tested once, twice, thrice, and 4 times. So today, on Friday, I'm just messing up my days here. So on Thursday, the share managed to break through and go above, but it retreated. It was pushed back again. So if I go to a 1-day view, you will be able to see the brief movement in which we were able to pierce through, and then we came down. That was here. So we went up momentarily, and then we quickly came down. And then we have not been able to go above. So we have to work towards getting above this, and then BEAM will be able to make further progress. So this red line is a major resistance that has to be overcome. And now if I go back to the 1-year time frame, you can see that we have got another resistance quickly following that is at 88.09, followed by 90.45, which is the other red line, and then 97.72. So that's a potential upside of around 35%, at least, at the very least. And this 35 is coming just from where it was to where it has come to. But within this, if you factor all the other synergies of the collaborations that they have, which may fructify, the fact that BEAM 101 is already in phase 1 trials, what if it delivers great results in 2022? So that's again another big catalyst, potential catalyst in the works. Also, BEAM should be considered to be a bit special as compared to the other CRISPR shares, because to my knowledge, they are the only one who are targeting the ocular segment. I don't think any other CRISPR company is looking at it. But if I am wrong, please put it in the comments so that I can update my understanding of this field and study those other companies which will be in this particular segment. So apart from that, the fact that they have already started constructing their facility for production in North Carolina, and they're going to get tax benefits for that, all those things are positive. At the same time, I would think that we should have a caveat that we should revisit the finances on an ongoing basis to make sure that there is no potential scope of equity dilution, because for most of these companies, equity dilution is what creates a loss in the share value. So we have to be alert about that, and when we see that there is going to be equity dilution, that's the time when we have to take some corrective measures in order to safeguard our investment portfolio. So having said that, I would like to end the session saying that in 2022, I would definitely like to continue watching these shares closely. I think some of these companies may probably start getting monetized, at least for one product, at least for one company by end of 2022. And if that happens, I think BEAM would be in the forefront of that happening. So from that point of view, I would definitely prefer BEAM. But this field is still full of a lot of risks, and in my mind, I compare this to something like Apple when the smartphone was started, or Tesla when the EV trend was pioneered. So if you look at the share value of Tesla when it started off, when it was not that well known, and to what it is today, there is a very big difference. It was highly volatile, it was valued less, and then it got into multiples. Right now, Tesla is valued at a very high multiple that no other share in the share market has. So that is the status of Tesla. The same way, I think I would put all these CRISPR companies in that category, and any of these companies can be the next Tesla, or all of them can be the next Tesla in terms of the value proposition of what they bring to table for the end user or a consumer. For example, if your sickle cell anemia can be cured at the root and you don't have to take any medications after that treatment, just imagine the value that such a treatment has for anybody, right? So that's the proposition. The other thing is, all these companies stand to revolutionize the entire field of medicine the way we know it today. And many of the medicines that we think of today as stable might get obsolete, and these technologies might come in. And it will be even more comfortable for humans to undergo complex treatment for difficult to cure diseases and get quicker results with less invasive approaches. So overall, I'm really, really bullish about this field, not only in terms of what it's going to bring for humans, but also in terms of what it could do to crops and animals, which we use in our dairy product and for various other things. So overall, this is really great. And when you look at the application of this technology into space projects, there's going to be a whole lot of new approaches that we may probably take in a futuristic world where we are sending off spaceships to go and colonize other planets. So there'll be a lot of interesting and pioneering future projects that would come to widen the horizon of this field. So having said that, I'd like to wish you all a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Thanks to you for all the support you have given me in the last 1 month. Our channel now has got around 31 subscribers. I thank you, each one of you, for that. And I thank each one of you who has taken the time to put a comment, and thank you for watching this video and giving me the motivation to keep going. We'll see you again in the next video. Take care, have a great day, like, share, and subscribe. Let your friends know about this channel. Thanks.